Hey everyone, Ankford here, and yesterday I got done watching Iron Fist, and I just wanted to make the show kind of murn around in my head for a day to just make incredibly, completely sure that this was what I thought about it and all that. I've also been writing my thoughts as I've been watching on Twitter, and this was a hard one to get through. I could just say up front before I get into spoiler territory. Is it bad? No, it's just kind of average. It's not very good, but it's not so bad that I wouldn't be able to tell you, like, season 2 could probably fix a lot of the issues that season 1 had, because a lot of the issues with season 2 or with season 1 uh, are just kind of, why did you even decide to still do this? There's a lot of like beginner's mistakes when it comes to superhero stories, and a lot of beginner's mistakes when it just comes to adapting superhero material overall. Of course, one of the big mistakes is you kind of remove the most interesting parts of being a superhero. That is, of course, for most of this series, the Iron Fist is not the Iron Fist. And that, of course, has been seen before with the other Marvel Netflix shows. But in this case, the Daredevil was still doing stuff that the Daredevil would be doing. The Iron Fist is nowhere to be seen for the majority of this series. In fact, all of it. So I'm just gonna say, should you watch it? You should watch it if you want to be completely sure who the Iron Fist is and you don't feel like reading the comics. If you don't want to watch 13 episodes of kind of average non-action actiony show, just read a summary somewhere, because not that much happens. Oh, there's a kitty cat. Not that much happens in this show that changes up the status quo of the Marvel universe at all, like, except now Iron Fist is running around. So that's the most spoiler free I can go. Like, don't expect Iron Fist season 1 to change up or come with that many new revelations. All the revelations we've kind of wanted from the build up to the Defenders have already been done in Daredevil season 2. So for spoiler territory, or for like actual story meat territory, the best part of the story of the show was the final episode. Which is not a very good thing to do when every episode is an hour long and there's 13 of them. Episode 13 cannot be the most interesting episode of them all. There was a lot of slow, awkward scenes, and in the final episode, and spoilers for the rest of the show, Danny has been fighting the Hand, who is like the ninja. It's like if you ever watched Ninja Turtles and remember the Foot from Ninja Turtles? The Foot is a parody of the Hand. So consider the Foot, but without all the fun, and you have the Hand. That's the Hand. Yeah, it's just not a very interesting organization, and you can tell why. They're not the big villain group you think of when you think of the Marvel Universe. They're nowhere near the first people you think of when you think of the big threats of the Marvel Universe. I could think of at least 2 big criminal organizations that are way more interesting from the Marvel Universe. They kind of had to make do with the Hand, and the Hand just does not step up to bat. And especially not this show. even the character that's been given a lot of build up since Daredevil season 1, Madame Gao, just amounts to not much of anything. And the actress is as great as she's always been, but she's never like been she's not been given anything in the show. She doesn't do anything. She just kind of stands there, sounds mysterious, and goes on to the next scene, exactly like she's been doing in the both of the seasons of Daredevil. So, yeah, Madame Gao. This was supposed to be her big main villain moment, and she just didn't get it. That's a shame. Harold Meachum is the evil businessman villain of the show, and his actor does a pretty good job, but again, just like all the other actors that actually do a good job, and let me say that like this, like even the good actors are doing badly in this season. Not knowing Finn Jones's work from other shows, I can't tell if this is Finn Jones being a very poor actor or Finn Jones just not being given anything to work with. Either it's the director or it's the writers that just really, really dropped the balls on this show. Because the shots are not very interesting. That are a lot of scenes I would have taken over. Oh, no, not taken over, but redone. At least not used the cut they ended up using. It feels like a rush job, and it feels like a poorly done rush job, because like you have a lot of romantic scenes between Danny Rand and Colleen Wing, and I'm sorry for being so much over the place. But you have a lot of scenes between Colleen Wing and Danny Rand that are supposed to be romantic, and instead of sounding actually sincere, they come off as like Beverly Hills stuff. Like they really, really don't do a good job with these lines, and the lines themselves are kind of awkward, and the actors are also kind of awkward. It doesn't come off as very sweet or very romantic. Their romance is believable, but it's mostly believable because the actors can at least act with their eyes. It's like Finn Jones, as long as he's silent, he's actually a decent actor. But as soon as he opens his mouth, he just loses a lot of credibility. He really does. Like he tries, but I think he's not being given much meat here, and that's a shame. Like it's very rush jobby. It's very bare bones. The choreography we've come to expect from the Marvel Netflix shows is also nowhere to be seen here. Like one of the big great parts of the other Marvel Netflix shows was the choreography. Like the fight scenes were incredibly well done, and especially in Daredevil. And here they just feel bare bones. I don't know if they lost the choreography director from the other shows, or he just didn't have time, or he left the studio, or what happened there, but their work was not around at all. Like you could tell this was more an attempt to try and do it justice, and just falling flat on your ass. And especially like Colleen Wing, while she's one of the better actors in the show, she's really not very good at martial arts, and you can tell. She's trying very hard. Like everyone on this show seems to be trying their best to pull off what they have to pull off, and none of them are given the instructions needed, and none of them are really given a chance to shine here. Nobody really, as again, even returning actors, sort of fall flat. So I am tempted to say it is less a fault with the actors and more a fault with the director here, because a lot of scenes could have been so much better if you had just used another take. There's a lot of stumbling over your words, and you can tell it's not intentional. These characters are supposed to be better fighters than talkers, but even then, they just come off as way too awkward and a lot of the romantic uh dialogue, and a lot of the dialogue overall is just very predictable. It's very taking out of a book. Not as in they talked like it was literature, but more than it was taken out of a here's a list of voice lines you can say to sound like this and this. Like Danny Rand has a scene where he talks about wanting to be a light in the darkness, and it's just such an overused metaphor, and the line is like written in a way that it is like almost copy pasted from another script. A lot of the lines in the show feel like they're copied directly from another movie and just put in here for no reason. Just like a lot of early superhero adaptations, they also seem to be obsessed with downplaying the superhero part. Like it's as if, but this has also just been a problem I've had with the Netflix shows overall. All of them seem to have this obsession with taking the power fantasy out of superhero fiction. And if you know anything about superhero fiction, it's supposed to be a power fantasy. Like, for the most part, being a superhero is supposed to be something to aspire to. And they just do not deliver in that regard. They have Danny Rand run around in normal people clothing for the entirety of the series. Nowhere aside from flashback scenes does he ever wear a gi. He never gets in costume. This is not a situation like Daredevil season 1, where he wasn't wearing the Daredevil's costume, but he was still wearing a costume. No, Danny Rand just runs around in a shirt and pants for the entire show. And sometimes he even sneaks into combat in a button-up business suit. And it just, going into combat in a business suit is something you do when you're Tony Stark and you can call upon your robot suit and jump into that. It's not something you do when you're a kung fu master who actually has to fight with your own body. Any warrior monk would completely deny going into combat like Danny does. And of course, you could explain that away with, okay, he's not had any preparation time. He's just going in, and he's supposed to be hot-headed. But Finn Jones is not able to sell that, and the dialogue is definitely not able to sell that. So it comes off as, why didn't you at least just take off your shirt then? Because, like, Danny's costume is his tattoo on his chest, because it's a magical tattoo he was given because of his status as the Iron Fist, and you only see it in romantic scenes and in hospital scenes, and like sorry, but his real costume in the comics often has him just have a low cut suit. So his chest tattoo is still shown off. Like, his tattoo is the closest you come to a costume, and even that he does not wear. Even that he does not show off in the show. Um, it's like they wanted to be more grown up than they actually are, and instead they come off as trying to hide away what the audience came for. I'm sorry, but this is the Marvel Universe, right? This is the universe where a big green guy jumps through buildings. This is the universe where Thor is real and actually travels to Earth by rainbow. You can't have that universe and then try and downplay the weirdness. Iron Fist is known for punching the heart of a dragon, and in this show, he's just a guy beating up high schoolers, and there's a weird clawing effect on his hand. They don't even show the dragon. It is a shame. It's such a shame. Some of it can be broken down into, okay, this is budgetary reasons, but even the Power Rangers from the 90s looked more believable, or not looked weirder than this, and at least made it a little bit believable. I'm sorry to say it, but they're trying to build up the hand as if they're this big, interesting organization, this big, cool organizations, when honestly, the ninjas of the hand often times are used as the putties from Power Rangers. Like, that's what they are. They're the putties. I can't in good faith tell you go watch Iron Fist season 1. I can tell you, if you want to be sure you know who all these characters are, give it a watch. But if the business subplot doesn't interest you, then abandon ship, because the business subplot is the best part of the show. It's the most well-written, well-acted part of the show, and if that doesn't interest you, then there's nothing for you there, because the ninja stuff is downplayed, it's not very interesting, and it's not acted very well. All the most interesting part of that subplot doesn't happen till the penultimate episode of the show. Thanks for watching. This got very serious, but this is just very disheartening to me. I hope you enjoyed this video regardless. I hope you'll share your thoughts on the show with me in the comments. I promise you, I am not as grim about this show as I sounded, but it's really not very good, you guys. It really isn't. Please don't, fall into the trap of making this about the political thing. Because it's not. It has nothing to... Even if Danny Rand was played by an Asian guy, this would still be a poorly made show. I promise you that. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!